Okay, so welcome to right sizing. It's my version of value pricing. I call it right sizing. So I'm just trying to get rid of my big picture. I don't need to see myself over here on the other screen. It was bothering me. Anyway, so right sizing is my take on value pricing. So right sizing to me means it's the right client with the right services or the right package with the right price. So it's a combination of there's definitely a lot of value built into it because of course anybody who knows of me knows that I mentored under Ron Baker for 9 months. So I've got a lot of the value pricing put in, some a little bit of fixed pricing, and of course I've been able to bring this down into a fairly easy to use formula that I know some of you are repeats on here. So hopefully I've got new examples, and that's great because I do appreciate your support. Keep coming back, and I want to continue to provide value, whether this is your first time at the webinar or whether it's your 20th time. I want to be able to continue to provide value so that we can definitely make a positive impact on the industry as a whole. Okay, so that is myself, Tanya Hills. I am a certified professional bookkeeper through the IPBC up here in Canada, and I am the founder of Cloud Bookkeeping Services and Tanya's Bookkeepers Bootcamp. There's a little bit about me. I'm not going to go into everything. You can certainly read that for yourself. Just a couple of things I did want to point out just more recently is my Bookkeepers Bootcamp does qualify for IPBC continuing education credits in 2018. So that was a huge deal. That was the very first member program that has been recognized for continuing education credits, and you receive 24 continuing education credits. So if anybody out there is interested, needs a continuing education credits, most of the other firms, even in the States and for the CPAs here in Canada, do honor the CEC credits as well. You'll have to verify with each one of them, but most of them honor. So again, if that's something that you've been thinking about and you want more information, feel free to reach out. And then, of course, I'm Insightful Accountant Top 100 Pro Advisors for 2018-19. And the biggest thing was the Intuit Global Firm of the Future for last year, and the Canadian runner-up the year before. And then I was also voted as Practice Ignitions, one of their top 50 women in accounting in 2018, a 2018 Inspire Bookkeeper Award winner. And there's more. Again, you can read through those. I won't waste any more time with that. So let's just dig right in. A little bit about myself, for those of you who don't know me. I love my family, and that is not all my family. I also love unique experiences, and my daughter and I do a lot of unique experiences. So if some of you watch, the CW shows, you may recognize, some of the cast of Supernatural, The Vampire Diaries. Yes, we like to go in and do unique experiences and spend weekends with the cast. And we like to do cruises, and we like to meet some of our favorite bands. And there is our office manager in the bottom, who is my four-legged fur baby, Rosie. It's her when she's quiet, because she's peaceful and sleeping, and she's cute when she's quiet. And then, of course, my daughter and I are learning American Sign Language, which I think is a very beautiful language, and that's something that I've wanted to learn forever. So we've started learning it. Unfortunately, not moving along as quickly as I would like. Anyway, so we'll just dig right in. So a little bit about my story. So I chose to specialize in QuickBooks Desktop just because my niche was a small entrepreneur. And at that point, many years ago, QuickBooks seemed to be more targeted to my market. I retroactively started supporting QBO in 2012, just simply due to the demand of some of my clients. And I used to like the desktop product. Didn't work so well. I spent the next year focusing on learning all about cloud accounting, the apps, the way they integrate, value pricing, and how I could transform my practice from a data entry to a data management. And we've actually evolved beyond there. We offer a lot more consulting, and by the end of this year, most of our services will come from advisory. Speaking of that, if you have not already signed up for the Financial Advisory Workshop, the links are all over the Facebook page, the Bookkeepers Corner Facebook page, as well as if you go to bookkeepersbootcamp.ca, you'll be able to access them there. There's 12 weeks with 12 different apps. These will not be regular demo apps. These will strictly be, we've asked for more of a how-to. So by the end of it, anybody should be able to easily figure out how to structure, provide services, provide value, price, and easily implement with your clients a financial advisory. So if that's the way that you're looking to go, sign up for those. Our kickoff does have a different registration link, and that's Rundle and Corlick, who, of course, is one of the queens of cash flow. Please do that. I don't know if I'll be able to get repeats. There will be recordings that will be provided on the Facebook groups after, and anybody who can't attend will receive recordings after as well too. I want the industry to be able to benefit from this so that we can all easily go ahead and evolve our practices. So I took everything that I learned, I implemented it, and I tripled my sales within a year, and I'm on target to double it again this year. Most of that was just from, being a little bit more efficient, as well as pricing the services and packages and clients properly. We've doubled essentially year over year since then. The clients liked what I offered, and like-minded clients began to spread the word. We don't spend a lot in advertising. On the bookkeeping side, the only money that goes into advertising is, our networking groups. So we're like a member of the Chamber of Commerce, and then we've got 2 other local networking groups. So we're under $1,000 a year in advertising, even including our website. So we don't pay a lot at all. So the like-minded clients began to spread the word, got a lot more referrals, which is great. That freed up more time to be able to utilize everything that was now accessible to me to help them grow their businesses. So I refound the passion that I originally had, because let's face it, what we do or did, if we're doing it properly and we're evolving, is mostly data entry, and that's not what we're passionate about. I know that's what I wasn't passionate about anyway. I then became an Intuit sponsored Black Swan in 2016, which allowed me to mentor under Ron Baker through the IPBC Black Swan program. I mentored under him for 9 months, and that was very eye-opening. He pushed me for a lot of, through a lot of areas that I was very hesitant to go to, and I don't regret it one bit. My practice has now grown from just me to myself and 5 employees, and I can work anywhere where there's internet. So although I choose QuickBooks products, that was just my tool of choice. The value pricing formula that I'm going to show you today can be used with any accounting software packages, traditional, desktop, or cloud-based. When you use the compatible cloud-based software and integrate the apps and the time-saving tips that I'm going to review with you today, you can be a lot more efficient and substantially increase your bottom line. So if you're working in the cloud, you will be able to be more profitable than working otherwise, because you're working smarter, not harder, and getting the technology to do a lot of the work for you. So why value price? So with hourly billing, we're penalized for our increased experience, being faster at processing, our increased knowledge as we gain more knowledge as time goes by, getting more certifications, being an expert in our field, leveraging current technology, offering the client more value, and coming up with custom solutions for each client. Now, if you're an employee and you were working for a firm and you came up with all of that above, you'd be rewarded for all of that. So how is it fair that we're not being rewarded for that because we've decided to be the firm owner or, be the sole proprietor? So I like to call value pricing right sizing. It's the right client with the right solutions for the right price. And right sizing is a win-win. So what the client will gain is agreeing in advance to what solutions that we're going to provide for them, agreeing in advance to what price they're willing to pay for these solutions. And then we can also turn around and teach the client, in most cases, we've successfully done that with a lot of our service-based clients, that we've been able to teach them to right price their services, which increases the value that we're providing to them. So we're no longer just a bookkeeper or a data entry person. We are truly more of a consultant, a business consultant, and almost like a partner to help them. So with right sizing, we gain agreeing in advance what solutions we'll provide, agreeing in advance to what price the clients will pay for our services. We now know our recurring monthly revenue. So now we're able to be paid in advance for our work if we're set up properly with receivables. And so now there's incentives for us to gain more certifications, to leverage the most current software, and to complete the work in the agreed upon time frame, because we're no longer penalized for our speed. So again, anyone can right size using any software. So right sizing could work if you're using, again, the desktop. I think I've just repeated this, but basically, the whole idea behind this concept is to have the client focus on the outcome rather than how long it takes you or what tools it's taking you to achieve the desired results. So what tools do I use and how do I use them? So I use QBO as my main accounting software. I use 17 Hats for quotes, contracts, and workflows, some workflows, but it's basically the automation part of it and to automate our emails. Any task reminders and our to-dos, I use QBOA. We used to use Asana. I know Leanne still uses Asana for some of her non-client work. We use HubDoc to pull the bank statements. We actually only have one client left submitting with their mobile app. We've actually moved the other ones over to Receipt Bank. We just like their flow a little bit better. And we're looking into auto entry because we have some clients that we think auto entry might be better suited for. But again, the idea is we're using an automatic tool to be able to get the information, the receipts over in real time, and to use some of the OCR. We still look at every receipt. I am huge on compliance. Anybody that knows me knows I've been dealing with compliance and taxes much longer than bookkeeping. So I've been dealing with that since 1997. So we look at every receipt. We don't have anything auto-published. I'm just not comfortable with that, but still using the software and having it pull out so we now only need to verify the information and make any changes as necessary is huge. It's a huge time saver for us. We use Rotessa for our pre-authorized withdrawals. Having it come into the bank account is actually cheaper for us, as well as the fact that people don't change their bank accounts as often as credit cards, so it's less time consuming for the full picture. And we only offer options of the 1st or the 15th of the month to collect the payments, and we collect those in advance of doing the work. And then we use Invoice Sherpa. That's really only tax season or any one-offs for our follow-up. And I've got 3 clients that are actually left on an hourly price. So yes, not all of my clients are even at a fixed price. 3 of them are left at an hourly billing. They're my first 3 original. I'm happy with the amount that I'm billing for them. I tried to get them to move over, and it was basically either keep them where they were or lose them, and they're great sources of referrals. So I chose to let them grandfather in at my old prices, and that, as I say, that completely works fine, but they know nobody else is going to get the hourly rates, and everybody that they send over is going to be priced on my new packages with my new rates. But the good thing about Invoice Sherpa is a tool that you can use to offer an AR package as a part of your plan options to clients that have AR issues. So the the time-saving cloud accounting software features. So, and this is, I know in Xero, I know they have these. Sage, I think Sage is a little further behind. I know Diane Mueller is on here who knows Sage inside and out. She may be able to let us know how this is coming along. I know Sage is working slower, but their end goal is to get there. They just want to make sure that they've got everything worked out right, the kinks all worked out before they start releasing the services. So if they're not there yet, just wait, they will be there. So Bankrolls. So items such as bank fees, interest charges, automatic loan payments, daily merchant deposits for clients with maybe a non-integrating point of sale or an old-fashioned till. We would automate all of that, offset those against the monthly sales receipt. Recurring transactions. We set up recurring transactions or even as templates, because with the old adage of why type an email more than once, why do a journal entry template for those odd time where it's needed? So for example, a manual payroll. So we set up the templates, fill in the blanks for any of those ad hocs, one-off, or frequently used journal entries. I'm just going to take a quick stop here. Nobody's seeing my screen. I'm so sorry, guys. Share. I did pick to share. I don't know why I didn't share. Okay, so you haven't missed very much. You've just missed what I've said. I will send out the PowerPoint deck for this as well. That way you don't have to worry about taking any notes. So that way we don't have to start all over because we're 15 minutes into it. So I'll make sure to send out the PowerPoint deck with this as well. So that way you've got all of that. So that's perfect. Okay, so let me go on. So the whole purpose of, value pricing, right sizing, whatever it is that you want to call it, pricing value, as Rondalyn Corlick likes to call it, is we need to educate the clients. as to exactly what services, how we can work best, rather than us just being strictly data entry. We need to also educate them on the value of the services that we're providing, and we need to provide them value. You need to keep in mind, not everybody values everything the same, and this is where you have to start customizing the plans, and we're going to go through some examples of that. Options, you need to provide them options. I find it's a lot easier when we're providing options. The way that I like to provide them options, I find it just works best for me. Because it's a little bit easier for them to understand. If anybody out there has ever seen any of the like those housing shows like Love It or Listed, Property Virgins, Property Brothers. I know anybody in Canada will know those. I think Property Brothers is in the States as well. But any of those types of shows where people come in and they say, here's what I want. So when you ask clients, what do they want? They're going to come up with this big list. So what we do is we kind of start off with, let's use that as basically almost their top package to give them that. Let's give them their price. We'll say, okay, you've given us that list. What do you think that's going to cost you? Okay, no, here's the reality. Everything you've asked for, this is what it would cost you. So then we start to dig in, just again, like those shows, once they realize, oh, the house they thought they could get for $200,000 is really $1 million home. Let's start to focus on the important things. What is of utmost importance and value to that particular client? Are they willing to pay more to get those done? Or are they, oh, okay, let's shave a little bit of that off to try to, come up with something that is an easier price for them. Maybe they can't afford those services. So let's start to cut back. Maybe, you can get a little bit of a DIY and training involved in that or something. So once you understand what they value, whether again it be price, services, mixture of both, now you can really work on building their package. And then of course we always come in as the lowest option is, okay, here's a DIY. We don't bring that out unless they really don't like the options we're giving them. But once we figure out what they've got, we still give them 3 different options. The basic one might be, here's some training and we'll do some consulting, but that's again more of a do-it-yourself. But again, they need to pay for the training. And the training cost, I charge $175 an hour is my base for training. If they want to come in and have us do the work, no problem. Here's where we're doing the work. And then maybe the top level is, including an AR package if we see that's a problem that they've got. Or maybe that's including, again, financial advisory package. So you give them the 3 options. And then that way, again, they can determine what's of value to them. You need to include your software costs. Obviously, you don't want to be out of pocket for that. So we do recommend that when you're including your software costs, if you have software that once you've got 10 clients, you're receiving a discount, don't give them your discounted rate, because what happens if your software changes? So what I do is I actually give them in most cases, so our QBO subscriptions, they get our retail price less 20%. If it's anything else, they actually get they get charged the retail price, basically. Some of them, again, I give a little bit of a discount, but no more than 20% off the discount. And again, that still needs to be above the cost that I'm being charged. Time, you do need to account some time. You don't need to track your time by the time clock. I'm going to show you an easy way. It's a point system. So it's a nice, easy way to be able to track your time. You need to make sure that you're profitable, and you need to know your bottom line. So you need to know your walk-away price. The last thing you want to do is start negotiating on your price just for price point. So if somebody starts negotiating, say, oh, you know what, that's too high, can you bring it down $50 a month? If you bring it down without negotiating on services, it's very different to negotiate services. But if you bring it down without changing the services around at all, then what that's actually telling the client is you don't value yourself. You're willing to discount yourself down and cheapen yourself because you don't value yourself. So you're not doing yourself any favors, because guess what? When they come up for renewal, they're going to do it again. They know you've done it. They will continue to do it. If they refer somebody over, they will tell them to do that. Think about what you do. If let's say that you called in and you got a new cell phone plan and you were able to negotiate down, and you tell your friends, this is a great cell phone plan. Go ahead, call in. But you know what? Tell them that you've got a friend that's got this price, or tell them this, or tell them that. It worked for me. It'll work for you to get you a cheaper rate. Clients do that for everything. So don't fool yourself in thinking that they won't do that here. So knowing your bottom line is really important. So knowing what services you'd be willing to negotiate for or what your walkaway price is. I do not negotiate unless I'm negotiating services. I know my walkaway price. And the walkaway price is very important because the last thing you want to do is end up wondering and starting to think, oh my gosh, if I just, lower that price by $10, would they have taken it? Might that make a difference? The last thing you want to do is end up, sticking yourself into a what if spin that can drive any person crazy. So know your bottom line, be comfortable with that, and always give yourself time from setting the price before you call the client back and have that pricing conversation, because then that way you will have the confidence. I can tell you, even with the confidence that I have and all of the time that I've been doing this, every single time that I decide, okay, I'll make an exception. The client gave me a sob story as to why they need a price today. I will make an exception. I will give them a price on the spot. They always turn around. They're ready to negotiate. I'm not ready for the negotiation. And this is why for the past almost 2 years, I refuse to. If they need a price right away and they can't wait 24 hours, we'll set up that pricing appointment. They're not my ideal client, just bottom line. And that's okay, because those clients that I have in the past made that exception for, given them a price because they said they needed it right away, they've turned out to be clients that didn't last beyond the year anyway. Whether they were frustrated and felt I wasn't providing enough value and they left me, or 9 times out of 10, it's we fired them. I've had, I think, 3 clients leave me without being fired. Everybody else has been fired, and that's in, the lifetime of my business on the bookkeeping side. So, yeah. Anyway, so just keep that in mind. So now, how do we do the value or do the actual calculating? So as I said earlier, there's a formula. So Ron Baker suggests in his book, Implementing Value Pricing, that you value the items by the following percentages. And this is a formula that I've started with, and this is the base formula that I use and the template that I'm going to show you as to how easy it is to work with. So you need to take the number of hours that you're working. Again, I'll show you how to do that without actually tracking your hours. Times it by your base rate. Your base rate should be your non-value price or value inflated hourly rate. So think of what the hourly rate is for anybody who just charges by the hour, or what you were doing before you started value pricing. Because if you inflate that first and then add these on, you'll price yourself out of the market, and you don't want to do that either. So finding that base rate, the sweet spot for the base rate can be a little bit of a challenge at first, but once you found it, you're gold. So having a fixed price, 10 to 20% extra surcharge for that. That is extremely valuable to people, to know the exact amount that's going to come out of their bank account every single month. That's extremely valuable. Think of it any time where maybe you've fallen behind. Let's say there's an HST quarter. Let's say it's tax season. For whatever reason, you've fallen behind. Maybe really haven't gotten to a client's books that you're used to doing it monthly. And then all of a sudden, 2 months later, you sit down and you go through and they get a bill for $1,000. There's a little bit of sticker shock to them. So now having this fixed price means even if something like that happens and you can't get to the work within that time frame, that client's okay with it. The client is still paying for it at a smaller chunk where they can afford it, instead of getting the sticker shock of a bill of $1,000, and they might say, well, I can't afford to pay that right now. And what have you done I bet you everybody on this call at one point or another has been in that situation. So now, you're going into an AR. Some people have discounted it down because they feel, well, it's not the client's fault that I was busy and didn't get to it. And so again, you're not doing yourself or the client any favors. And then, so as well too, other industries have been doing that for decades. You think about it, how many people have their electricity bill, their gas bill, their all of those, insurance, everything else. There's so many things that have been done on a fixed price. So this is something that absolutely we should be doing. Change orders, you should add a 5 to 10% service charge for the change orders. Now, this doesn't mean anything big. This is the small stuff. I need this report last minute because I've got to go into the bank for this. Or, again, some little one-offs, 5 to 10%. If you've got that built in, you don't have to turn around and charge the client for that and make them feel like they're being nickeled and dimed, because clients don't like to feel like they're being nickeled and dimed for all of this. So if you have this buffer built in, you can take care of that. And then maybe a good response would say, you know what, that's not in your agreement, but you know what, for you, you're a great client. It's not going to take me very long. I can pull that together. So anytime we do something like that, I always give them a warning, because if you want to avoid scope creep, it's definitely better to do that, because if you start doing this, next time they may call us for something bigger and something bigger, and then all of a sudden you finally decide, you know what, I really need to start charging. They'll say, well, you've been doing it free all along. So now, again, you're into a scenario where you're now doing work for free. And I know, again, Diane Mueller, she is the queen of scope creep conversations. So she's probably completely agreeing. So we've got the value guarantee. We're all offering that anyway. If the work's not done right, you're actually going back and you're fixing it. So why should you do that for free? If you go to Best Buy, if you go to Staples, Business Depot, you buy a computer, there's already a warranty with it. But what they're doing is they're saying, you know what, the warranty with it, you've got to mail it away. You've got to do this. You take our warranty, pay for it, we'll take care of it all in store. So we're already providing that. Other people are paying for it for other things. Why shouldn't we be charging for it? So you add in a 15 to 30%. Payment terms, 5 to 10%. So this could mean, you know, if you're going to allow them to use a credit card, the withdrawal from the bank account, or this could mean being flexible with them. Maybe you have a business that has, you know, they're seasonal, so they get most of their income within 6 months, but they still do a little bit through the, you know, through the rest of the year, just not as much. So maybe you offer them flexible payment terms. Excuse me, sorry, it's dry in here. My allergies have been acting up this year. So maybe you order them flexible payment terms to be able to pay over the 6 months that they've got their income, and the other 6 months you'll still do all the work, they just won't be charged for it. So helping them work within their cash flow structure is of huge value. So again, why shouldn't we be charging for that? Unlimited access. This scared a lot of people. This terrified me. When Ron first told me you need to provide unlimited access, that's where the value is, I was terrified. I thought, oh my gosh, everybody, and I said to him, people will take advantage of that. And he told me, I'm dealing with the wrong clients then. They're not my ideal client. And he was 100% bang on. The right clients will respect their time, they'll respect your time, and they're not going to take advantage of that unlimited access. So if you have somebody who's taking advantage of that, then they're likely the wrong client. So I would suggest you take a step back, take a look, and see, are they really your ideal client? So now, and again, there's value to that to the client to know they're not going to be nickeled and dimed for every phone call, every email. I know, again, Diane, sorry to keep calling you out here, but on our Beyond the Cloud meeting last week or the week before, Diane actually brought up that she actually has a 15-minute, I guess on her Calendly link, it's 15 minutes. So, you know, just a quick question, she calls it, which is a great idea. So if you've got clients who want to do that, they can do that and know that they don't have to be billed for it, and you're not booking a whole lot of time. And then now your time is being booked, so they're not calling you, interrupting your flow of work. So that's a great idea. So I hope that's okay that I shared that, Diane. I figured you shared it on the other call, so it would be okay. If not, then you can chastise me in public. I'm sorry. Anyway, your apps and your add-ons, you absolutely need to include that. You need to know your cost base to be able to be profitable. And if you're eating the cost of all your apps, that's digging into your profit. I know certain people will have those listed out, especially with the fact that, you know, some of the apps are changing quite quickly. I know QBO in the States had a large price increase. Canada, we're given enough notice so that we can go in and change it on our price increases. The last one, we were given notice in the spring that it would go up in October for brand new clients, and then, or sorry, August for new clients, and then spread out to, you know, our existing clients would have been spread out a little bit more. The prior year before that, we were given 12 months notice. But you need to, make sure that you're including that if you're going to be including it in as the price. But like I say, some people are excluding it. I know even in BC, there's different rules with regards to the taxes. So if you put that on a separate line item, that you're not charging the software within your prices are taxed differently for the actual packages, your service packages. So one way or another, whether it's inclusive or you're having it exclusive, you still need to be able to provide that as part of your price. You can calculate your hours from the balance sheet, which again, I'll show you how in a moment, and then your gut price. So always make sure that you're comfortable with it. So if you follow those, then that means that you're valuing your expertise at anywhere from 45% to 90%, and you're charging an appropriate surcharge for this. So the formula that I'm showing you has gone right in the middle at the 75% base, but there is flexibility, again, how to easily add on or take off. So that part's done. Woohoo, the easy part is coming with this formula that I have. So do the little happy dance, and we'll just pop over to this. And while I'm bringing this up, let's just see if there's any questions that anybody has right now at this point. So I'm taking a look. So what do I use for a client tax portal? We actually use SmartVault for that. We found that that works really well. It's got the encryption on it, and it's really easy for the clients to get in and out. And we actually use that for basically all of our online storage as well, and our portal for back and forth with our bookkeeping clients as well as taxes. And what do we use for a bookkeeping document archive or document management system? SmartVault, again, the same thing. I think a ShareFile is very similar. There was just something about SmartVault that we liked better. I think at that point it was priced a little better, and there was something about the flow that we liked a little bit better. But ShareFile and SmartVault, I think, are two of the more popular ones, because then the clients can sign in. You've got great plans. We're not going to go anywhere near our device amounts, or sorry, our amounts. And I think SmartVault, I just got an email that they're changing their plans to be unlimited online cloud storage as well. So now we don't have to worry about that. So we've committed ourselves to that. But like I say, I think SmartVault and ShareFile are probably two of the more popular ones out there today. And another note here that there's been an auto problem and it's crackling. I hope that was only temporary. I obviously, unfortunately, can't hear it on this end, so hopefully that was only temporary and you guys are able to hear better. And then hopefully that does not show up on the recording. So that way, if there is something, try to watch back. I think the recording goes from my end, so if I don't hear the crackling, I don't think it records any crackling. And of course, that might even be with your internet connection if it had a little bit of slowdown. So again, for those of you that heard that, I apologize. Hopefully that's all fixed up now. And that's all the comments and questions so far. Okay, so let's just pop right in and start digging through now on the template and how I do that. So this template I do have up. If you do like it, you can purchase it for $99 from my website. I've basically given you the formula if you want to take the time to recreate it. This did take me many, 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 many hours to recreate it. It just kind of depends on yourself. Like I say, if you rewatch the video, I've given you all the formulas in there. But this makes it really, really easy. And again, it's $99. Any upgrades that I do, you automatically receive upgrades. So what I've got built in is we've got our rate sheet. So the rate sheet, first off, there's some tips in here. So we're just going to go through some of these tips very quickly. Again, the rates are built in so that they're in the middle of Ron's suggested value surcharges at 75%. I recommend that sometimes, you've got a leniency of about 15% maximum either way, based on how you perceive the client values your services. I will say this is built in here. I don't use this. I am very comfortable with our prices. We're getting our ideal clients, and we're not signing up all of them. So we sign up about 20% of the people that we're pricing, but we don't price everybody. Out of those that we're pricing, we're probably at about 75%, because we're able to wean out ahead of time those that aren't our ideal clients. So we don't use any of the discount or surcharge leniencies really. I might if I've got somebody who's possibly for a PITA charge, but mind you, if I feel that they need a PITA charge, they're not my ideal client. So again, we just don't deal with them and don't quote them. If the customer wants to negotiate further, negotiate your services. Have the client do more or take some services out of the package. This is important. I'm going to give a quick anecdote with this one. The client may not value the services that you offer. So review what you're providing them, what's important to them, and maybe you included items that are not of importance to them. And just simply by changing that out to something of equal value to yourself, maybe you're increasing the value to the prospective customer. And the biggest thing, not everybody will value what you do. You need to determine your minimum and stick with it. The quick anecdote on this is my best friend, who is not in the industry, will not be seeing these recordings, but she knows it. I was helping out her boyfriend who had a taxi company at the time. I gave them a lot of free advice, a lot of free setup, did a lot of stuff for them just because I'm a nice person, and her and I go back to grade 10. So we've been in each other's lives for, well over 30 years. So we turned around and they said, okay, you know what? He can't do it at this point. He was netting $7,000 a month. This was not a small business. So he was making a very good income. And so they came and said, well, we want them to do the bookkeeping. So I just said, you know what? Okay, there wasn't really a lot involved, but I still discounted it down. So I said, send $300 a month. She laughed at me and she says, no, Tanya, she says, that's way too much. She says, like, again, you're not doing a lot. She didn't know what I was doing, that I was doing a lot or not. And I said, okay, that's fine. So I negotiated, but I negotiated with services. I said, well, if I teach you guys to do some, and then we'll just do the reconciling, we'll do reviews. My minimum on that is $250 a month. Again, giving them a discount. If they were anybody else, they would not have gotten those prices. She laughed again and she said, come on, Tanya, all you do is add numbers together. And I was shocked. I was like, wow, if my best friend of 30 years does not, and she knows what I do, she knows all of this stuff. If she doesn't see the value in what I do, that was a real eye-opening experience. There are many other prospective customers out there that won't see the value in what I do. So just remember that, and that's why it's very important that when you're negotiating, you don't negotiate on your price. And I'm very glad that I didn't end up taking them on. They ended up going bankrupt anyway because they didn't listen to their other bookkeeper, and they were not my ideal client at all anyway. So just if you're going to listen to anything here today, listen to that one. Again, price your apps, include your prices in. Again, monitoring accounts receivable or your payroll. Don't forget to include your app costs for that. We actually now have different payroll packages that we price out that I'll show you that as well too. And then an AR package. Again, if that's going to help solve your client's pain points, that's what's going to make you stand out is helping solve their pain points and giving them the values. Then offer an AR package and use the apps to again be able to do that. So I won't go through all the rest of this stuff because this will be, you can see it if you're rewatching. It's other tips I've kind of already covered. So what we do is we've got our base rate. So the base rate, for me, this depends on where it is that I'm actually pricing. If I'm pricing Toronto, depending on where in Toronto, I use 60 to 75%. If I'm pricing locally, currently I use 42.50. Yes, the services that I provide are the same everywhere, but because I'm 2.5 hours outside of Toronto, we're in a rural farming area community where the jobs costs are lower, everything is lower, so I need to be able to make sure that I'm charging appropriately to where I'm going because again, it's what's the value. The value of the dollar here is lower than the value of the dollar in Toronto. Clients in Toronto are used to paying more. I used to think if I was charging clients in Toronto, I would charge them the same rate. And I used to think, well, hey, great, this way you can get me at a cheaper rate. I realized very quickly, again, thank you to Ron, I was cheapening myself and cheapening the value, and I wasn't getting my ideal client. The clients I was attracting were my non-ideal clients and the paying clients. So again, just be really careful with that. Okay, let's see here. So the base rate, so again, keep in mind that's important to play with. That should be your rate from before your value pricing because this formula will take this rate and then add 75% to this rate. So a $40 an hour is really being charged at or billed at as $70 per hour. So it's very important that you find the sweet spot for this base rate to make everything work seamlessly in this formula. Down here, we have our software charges. So here's the software that I use. Here's my payroll packages. So if anybody wants to see the payroll packages, just go to my website, cloudbookkeepingservices.ca. I'll just go there really quickly. Here's how I monitor, how I have it to my clients. So just click on your bookkeeping and payroll plans. These are sample packages. These are not the packages I actually provide. It changes from everybody. I have the froms here because if this is too high for somebody, if they think that's already too high and that's my lowest package, they're not my ideal client. So I don't want to talk to them. So this way this is helping to dissuade from anybody who feels that's too high. But again, these are kind of starter points. The packages are all customized from the information I'm getting from the client and the solutions they want. But then here's the payroll packages. I used to include, so anybody that have seen any of my old videos or old webinars would have seen I was throw a point in or whatever. I started to realize that, you know what, no, payroll needs to be charged at a higher value. So here's the packages I have. Again, you guys can go back, take a look at everything here if you want afterwards. But that's what I've got in here. So these are the new payroll package prices. So we've got the apps. This is, you can type in any app you want. This does pull forward in any app. This pulls forwards to another screen, and then your pricing goes in here. So anything here, this is kind of one of your back-end screens that helps work into the calculation. So once you go in, you fill this in, you find your prices you're charging for everything, your sweet spot for your base rate, you won't have to go back in here. You can change the names of the plans here, which will then pull forward onto the first sheet, which I'll show you afterwards. And then in here, this is any ad hoc items, something that's different. So let's say client wants one face-to-face meeting per year, and you want to charge them $240 because you're going to drive to them. You can still add that in. So now it'll add in $20 a month for that annual a year. Let's say you want to add in their personal taxes. So for anybody in the States, these codes here, these are just tax codes for different Canadian tax forms. So what we're doing is we estimate out what their taxes will be, because again, we're now giving them one price, and there's value to that to the clients to know that they won't have a big bill at tax time. So I can put these in, work with these, say, okay, we're going to charge these, and I approximate it. So I let them know, I add these up though, and I let them know that X number of dollars per month will go towards their tax bill. So it comes out monthly, part of their bookkeeping services. When tax time comes, I calculate the tax bill based on the actual work that's involved, and then I just go in and then add a credit to the amount that we've collected from each month. So that's worked really well. I didn't used to do that, but then I found that my tax prices go up a lot faster than my bookkeeping prices. Taxes might be more complex. There might be a lot more that I didn't account for in the beginning. And so we've just recently changed it to that, and it's worked well so far. Let's say you want to charge more for, just for having the client being incorporated. So again, in my older videos, I didn't used to take this into account. So now I've realized that if your business is incorporated, there's definitely more value to having that. We all know that we pay more for incorporated. We have to pay more for our taxes to be done. We have to pay to incorporate. We have to pay to do the lawyers. We pay more in our bank accounts. Why shouldn't we pay more for our bookkeeping? Even though the work that I do on a sole prop for my year-end cleanup, I still do the journal entries, I treat both of them exactly the same. Again, there's more value to an incorporation. So let's say you want to charge $20 a month more, you could put that in here. So that's one option of doing that. So again, you can see it's really customized here that you can do, the one-offs just to add a set amount monthly, or you can add this in. So once you've got all of your rates in here, we pop over to the worksheet. So this is where the point system comes in. Everything here is just points. So here's where the additional items, this pulls from here. That's all of these. And you can see the names here. This pulled forward from here, the description, and it pulled the prices forward. So now I can put in any one of these. So again, if I wanted to use this to charge for the extra corporation, I can put in my points there. There's my point for my 1% or my face-to-face. If you did want to use that variance that I kind of discussed really briefly at the beginning, add a discount, add a PITA charge, you could use it here. A variance plus will give you, if you put in a 10, that'll essentially give you a 10% surcharge. It does not include the app, so it's only on the non-app portion of it, and then a variance minus will give you a discount. But like I say, I don't use these at all. Cleanup work, we can do cleanup work in here. I have an automatic 1.25 cleanup multiplier. Why should we charge somebody the same price when we're doing cleanup work? I only do cleanup work for clients that are signing into that agree to sign into 12 months or more. If they cancel out before 12 months, that's fine, because I actually have built into their contract that I charge $1,000. I change the name of it depending on the circumstance. It's an onboarding / migration / setup, fee, whichever it is with that client. And it says that if they cancel within the first 1 to 6 months, they will be billed for that $1,000. I'm waiving it as part of their, as part of an agreement for them to sign up. But should they leave, they'll be charged the full $1,000. Should they leave within 6 to 12 months, they'll be charged 50% of that. So they'll be charged and billed for $500. So again, if a client has an issue with that, that tells me they're probably not my ideal client. And then this way I don't have to worry, because we all know that we're spending a lot of cleanup and setup time at the beginning. So this way I've got myself protected for that. Software. So this software, this pulls forward. Again, when I put in type any app, that'll pull forward from here or from the rate sheet. So all you're doing on the sheet is putting in points. This side of it, there's a little bit of difference. You can actually make changes on any of these. So these I've just got set up with samples. So first off, this top part is cleanup only. So this and this cleanup multiplier are the only thing that come in to base for the cleanup only. So we're basically going by your bank, your balance sheet. How many bank accounts, credit cards, line of credit? Do they use a lot of cash on hand? Do you need to clean up their AR, their AP, payroll, sales tax, equity, any of those accounts that you are going to have to go in and clean up? Here's the number of months requiring cleanup. Now, when we get down here, we have the basic items, and here is included in all 3 packages, which you'll see on the next sheet. So all the points here are included in all 3. So this is where you can start coming up with the price to easily charge, different for each one. Any points in the second level are included only in the top 2 packages. Premium add-ons, any points in this are only included in the top package. So this is how you can easily, again, get those three tier prices. The points is essentially 1 hour of work. So again, I'm going to charge for every bank account, I'm going to charge 1 point. And what you're looking at is your old-fashioned work. How long would it take you to go through and reconcile a bank account? Old days, going, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Yep, it probably would have taken an hour on average. Some accounts would have been more, some accounts would have been less, depending on the size of the account. So that's taken into account here. There's another way. If you wanted to charge for incorporation, let's say you didn't want to charge this way, you wanted to charge them essentially an hour extra per month because they're a bigger corporation. You can then add a point in here. These, you can override these. These are just samples. So let's say I want to take out the incorporation and they're a multi-currency file. And so regardless of the level, I know I need to price them for multi-currency. You can just change this, because I do keep, when I quote them, I just keep a quick screenshot of this page, so that way I know the point system that I've used. So you can use that and you type in your points. If you have something that is a little bit different, again, if you just think, again, 1 point equals 1 hour of work, it'll be easy. You can then go in and quote anything. The premiums, regardless of what I put in here, I put a point for everything. The premiums, may include things like they're going to get, evening and weekend return emails from me, same day guaranteed, callback. Think of that like your first class. If you're flying, think of that as your first class. Anybody that's in first class, they get a ton of extras. It's double the cost, but they're willing to pay for it. I will tell you, I have nobody on a top package, and that's okay, because everybody always has a top package. If they ask for everything and they want all of those extras, I'm still going to come up with a further top package for them, and what they've asked for will then become their middle package. So I'm going to find something else to put on. So again, that way they have the options and they don't feel that they're being pushed into the highest package. That's all sales psychology. As well as the fact that the purpose of the top package should be to put value to your middle package. The purpose of your smallest package, so the smallest package, you're taking away a lot, and the smallest package is not worth it because there's a minor difference between the smallest package and the middle package. But again, it's to put value on the middle package. So if you're structuring your packages that way, again, you can get a little creative. You can quote anything through here. When we pop over to the client sheet, which is the third sheet, and all the formulas are locked it down in the back end. So if you do end up deciding that you want to purchase the template, it's in Excel, you can't change those. So it's locked down. So if you want to change something in it, that's where you're going to use the variance, use this, or change your base rate. Because the last thing I want is to have somebody, and this has happened, they went in, changed, they deleted something, didn't realize formula wasn't working, they were pricing wrong, and it's very frustrating when that happens, especially when they didn't realize the formula wasn't working right because of something they did. So I don't want anybody to be in that situation. So this front sheet, I don't give this to clients. I used to. I now use 17 hats for my quoting, but this is set up again, kind of my sample packages. So this is fully editable. Up here, you can delete, you can add, you can do whatever you want because this has no impact on the price. You can add X's in here, take away. This has no impact on the price. This is just simply a visual. I don't even change the X's. Now it's just simply here because I use it to demo with to everybody else here. I've added in, so anybody that is a repeat, I did a short video yesterday to show some of the changes. We've added this in, chosen price plans. These do not change. These are for you to add in. They are not reflective of anything at all, so you can override them. The purpose of them is, so if we use these calculated plan prices, here, and I looked at that and I said 723. I don't want to tell somebody 723. I want to round it to 725 or round it down to 720. I can then put here, I told them 725 because if you try to override this, it affects the formula. So that's why these were added in. So again, this one 933, maybe I want to tell them 935, and this one 1563, 1565. So now I can print this and I can know these are the prices that I've told them for these plans. And again, I keep a copy of the sheet and then a copy of my worksheet. So that way I've got my points. Down here is where you see the cleanup work. So these are formula as well. These pull from the other ones. So the cleanup work, that is essentially your hours here times the 75%, times the 12 months, times all of these, your points. There's no software included in that. So if you are using special software, you want to charge extra, you will have to add that in. If I'm doing backup work and they're signing onto an agreement with me, they're paying for the software from that moment forward, so I don't worry about that. If there is something that I want to use in, like a Cessant for bringing any older stuff in, it's a minimal cost and I'll eat that cost. How I price this too is we've changed it. So this here, that's that formula. Oh, sorry. And then of course times your multiplier, that's in here as well. How we price this is we now package. Offer packages for their cleanup work. So this price here would be their lowest cleanup work. So this is basically a get it done. We're not in compliant. You just want it done. So we will work for this price. Somebody who has, again, all this work for 12 months, this would be my cleanup price for them for that low package. We're going to work from their bank statements or their bank feeds and their direction. There's zero compliance at all in this one. This is the price I used to do for the fully compliant. And I realized I was just dumb. There was many other people out there that were charging the same prices and doing it a different way. So I thought, well, why am I doing it this way? I wasn't making money on the cleanup. It was more frustrating because we always found more things as we were digging in. So this became my new bottom package. What we do then, we double it to get to our top package. That is our fully compliant, audit-proof, bulletproof type of thing package where we will ask the client for every single receipt. They upload into Receipt Bank all at once. Once all the receipts are there, we'll work with Receipt Bank going through, again, reviewing every single receipt, let them know, check the bank feeds, let them know what didn't match. They can then go upload all of those receipts, but we're matching every single receipt, going through and then reconciling. Then we split the difference for our middle plan. And our middle plan is kind of it's a mixture between them. So the middle plan would be client can upload all the receipts they have into Receipt Bank. We're not looking at every single receipt for compliance. We're spot checking. And of course, my engagements are really tight that I make them sign on these ones. So we're spot checking. We're guaranteeing to go into, one or two from every single supplier. We'll set the supplier rules. I don't put anything to auto-publish, so we'll just do a quick publish. So we'll go in and we'll check them. We will also be looking for things like, I see that's a $900 purchase from Business Depot. Could that be something that should go under CCA? I see their phone bill looks like a double month. Is that something where maybe they didn't pay last month and the OCR is pulling in the wrong amount and not recognizing that that is, a cumulative balance from 2 months? So we're going to spot check. We're going to look for those types of things, but we're not going to look at every single receipt. Anything that doesn't match, we are then going to go based on direction from the client. So now the client's got 3 different options, and again, they can take what's valuable to them and sign their proper engagement accordingly. So that's kind of it. So I realize that we are going to go over time for any questions. So I apologize for that. I haven't, since the new changes, this is my first one. So I realize I now need to cut some stuff out or extend the time maybe to an hour and a half. So is there any questions? We can open that up. So you can just type in, okay, so here's some in the Q&A, so that's great. So Dominique said she really appreciates sharing the best friend story. I know you've heard that a few times, Dominique, but yes, absolutely, that's not your ideal client. They don't listen, they don't look for quality or advice. What do we use for payroll and time reporting? And do we uplift for job costing? So we actually don't have any clients that have job costing. There's one client that we actually just use an Excel spreadsheet for. I do want to go in and start playing with the job costing in QBO to see what that's like, but the client did not want to go into any of the other apps. They're in construction and they didn't see the value. So I created a spreadsheet and it's taking them more work, but they didn't see the value in paying the cost of the application to do this. Payroll, we're right now using QBO or Payment Evolution. There's a few that are a more complex situation that we're doing in desktop. But you'll notice in my payroll plans, I don't say which software. So this way, if I decide that I want to change or something that I think does better, like, hey, this one does, ROEs now, still for a decent cost, we could go ahead and we can kind of move them around in the back end. So it still gives me that type of flexibility. And then time reporting. We don't have any clients that are using time reporting. We still use T-sheets. We do use T-sheets internally. We do use T-sheets to track our hours on every client. We don't track the hours for pricing. So if we forget to do it, it's not the end of it's not a big deal. What we use it for is we use it to see, are we still on track when it comes time to look at their pricing again? So that's part of what we look at to see, how much we need to do price increase. We used to only spot check, and we thought, what, we'll just hit 3 months a year where we'll just track for everybody because everybody renews at the same time now. And the problem with that is we were out of the habit of doing it for 9 months out of the year. So really, the information wasn't accurate because of that. So we took a step back and said, what, let's use it. We use T-sheets. But again, we don't use it. So if somebody forgets, if we try to keep it as accurate as possible, but if it's not the end of the deal for that. So brilliant, 1,000 onboarding migration setup fee minimum, and that's, so I'm glad that at least one person out there has liked it. It was a great idea. We've only had one person that we've charged that for. They fully knew there was an issue with the company, and they ended up in getting another job. There was a franchise. There was issues with that. Promises weren't kept, but she knew. And so she easily said, yep, no problem. I know that. I signed it, send the bill. She paid the bill right, almost right away before we finished everything up. And it just went beautiful. And I actually make them initial. So it's not in the contract so they can say, I didn't read that. I make them initial right beside the important parts. So for example, the amount that's going into their tax return towards their tax bill every year. That's something that, again, is important, because if they've only paid for 2 months and now they're having us do their taxes, it's important that, again, for accountability purposes, that we can pull them back there. So I show them their initials to that. Dominique, do we teach 17 hats pricing implementation templates in boot camp? Yes, we cover everything. We cover marketing, networking, your ideal client, the full workflows, and you get all of our stuff as well, all of our templates, contracts. You get all of that, basically your business in a box, and then we help you, even if you don't use 17 hats and you want to use what we have, it's all in Word, and we help you take what you like from what we're showing and customize it to you. So it's not a full business in a box, it's a business in a box customized. So absolutely we do that. So thank you for asking, Dominique. Do we use practice ignition for the actual engagement? No, we do not. We actually do use 17 hats. I have an unlimited plan. I see the value in 17 hats. For that, I don't see the value in paying practice ignition. It doesn't have the flexibility that 17 hats does. I know some people love it, so I'm not knocking it. I've not gone in and done more than a play with it, but I know I like the way that 17 hats does, and we've been using it for years. How do I add a new line in any of the basic items or standard items? So if we pop back to the worksheet, if we're talking here, unfortunately, we can't add a line without buggering up the actual, without buggering up the calculations now, because all the lines are set by calculations. So you can, if you knew this, you wanted to be 2 points for this one client, like here you can see we've merged bank account and cash on hand. So maybe we want to put another line in here. So we're going to add in and just go credit card. So that way this frees this line up for something else. So you could certainly do that. One thing here I do want to make sure to point out that I haven't brought up is, a monthly review and year end. We now add a point for every client for a monthly review and year end. So we do a monthly review on every client. They get it. It's called a health check. It's basically like a report card of anything, maybe that we're missing, they're not getting back to us on, and then we have a follow-up conversation every month with the client on that and their year end. So by doing the monthly review, basically our monthly review is a mini year end. So by doing that, my year ends are now down to under an hour. In most cases, they're down to under half an hour, which is beautiful on the clients that we've had a full year cycle. But even if you're not doing that and you're still doing all of the year end, where does that time come from? You haven't accounted for that anywhere. So make sure that you're thinking everything and accounting that in there for that. So let me see here. So extended time for next one. Absolutely. I think I will do an hour and a half. Thank you, Dominique. So Betty Rose has said, how do we determine the base rate? So your base rate, Betty Rose, is essentially, like I say, it's your non-inflated hourly rate. So with us, again, for this area, $42.50. So if I was not value pricing and I was just my regular hourly billing, $42.50, and it's about $40 an hour is what somebody with over 10 years experience who is just still billing by the hour will bill for in this area. So I'm definitely much higher than anybody, but most people in this area are not providing the type of work. They're still providing just the data entry compliance work, most of them still with desktop products. So that's the rate that you need to look at and play with this. Take your existing clients, play with it, because you don't want to start pricing too high. So play around with it and say, okay, this client, if I price them this way using this base rate, this is what it would come out. So you need to play with that a little bit and then start pricing your clients. It's better to price them too low. If they're your ideal client, that is, I personally would rather have them priced a little bit lower. As long as I'm pricing them higher than I would have priced them before, you're going in the right direction. So when I started with this formula and I started value pricing, I was really excited. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting 100% of the people signed up. And I was so excited. And this is before I started the Black Swan program. And Ron Baker, responded back on my on the Facebook thing, and he said, if you're signing 100% of the people, you're priced too low. Now, I was happy because I was pricing them higher than I would have priced them before, but I was still too low. That was when I was sitting there at $30 for the base rate. So again, I slowly kept pushing up and up and up until I found the sweet spot. But again, it was our ideal clients that we were taking on, not the paying clients. So therefore, again, I was happy. I was making more than before, and they were still my ideal client. I didn't give them huge increases on renewal. I just gave them a percentage increase on their renewal, and then I just kept, pushed it up for the next person, pushed it up for the next person until I found the sweet spot, which, like I say, my area 42.50, Toronto 60 to 75, just depending. But again, remember that base rate will have 75% added to it to kind of come out to your actual hourly rate. Dominique had to run. Yes, I agree. I will do 90 minutes next time. Diane says, I see. And would this work to create sample packages, Betty Rose? I'm not quite sure what you're meaning, sample packages. You know what, I'm just going to bring you on. If it's okay, I'm going to bring you on to talk. If you'd rather type, just keep yourself muted and type. That's okay. But I really want to see what it is that you're kind of referring to for the sample packages. So you should be added in here, and you should be able to unmute yourself.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
Okay. I hope this was okay to bring you on. I thought we could type back and forth, or we can just get to it quicker. Okay, so what do you mean by the sample packages?
Okay, I don't have a sample packages like set up, so I'm like trying to find a base place to start, like what you have on your website.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if this is good enough to use to do like the sample packages you have.
It could. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, because if you sat there and you worked out, let's say, somebody has, 3 months or whatever, because I've got a minimum. Again, I'm a from, so that's where the difference is. So a from means, like this one here, this is somebody with one bank account with maybe 10 transactions a month. They're going to pay $300 a month. So what your base rate, if you're going to create a sample package, I would recommend that you start with a base rate, because again, if you quote somebody higher and you don't have that word from, you could end up with a little bit of issues with the client. So what your from should be is your get out of bed. What's going to make you excited to do the work on a file? So our maintenance, which we're reconciling only, and so we're reconciling and we're doing our monthly review, and our monthly review takes 15 minutes. So reconciling one bank account, and that would be here. The business sample is now we're adding in the expenses. But again, I don't care if they have 10 expenses. So somebody might go through here. So if we just go in and start working with this, so let me just grab here. And if I went in and let's just take somebody basic. So QBO, HubDoc, Receipt Bank are my basic ones. And let's just look in, let's add one bank account. We'll take out multi-currency. We'll just do it, let's not even have them have sales tax and the monthly review, and then, up to 50 receipts a month. So somebody like that would actually come out with at 305. So they're above the minimum, which is, or 303, which they're above the minimum. So that's great. Oh, I'm using 60. Let me change this to my 42.50. So for my that would be Toronto. So for my area, they would come in at 241, which is below the minimum. And that's reconciling one bank account. I'm not going to get out of bed and start to create a file for less than 250 for that and less than here. So that's why I'm suggesting figure out your minimum and do that. If you wanted to try to play for some sample packages, but I find if you don't do a from and you put a, hey, for example, 2 bank accounts would be this, you're going to get somebody who's going to say, hey, I've got 4 bank accounts. Each of them has, 100 transactions each. But if I consolidate them into 2, I now fit into, what you say on your website. But meanwhile, you look at those bank accounts and you're like, oh my gosh, there's like 400 transactions a month going through that bank account. That's not the equivalent of one regular bank account. So if you actually come up with precise sample packages, I feel that you're going to be opening a bigger can of worms. And that's why with the pricing here, because clients don't see how I price, they don't see how many bank accounts or any of that on here. And the worksheet, I can say, okay, well, if they've got one bank account, they've got 200 transactions a month, I know that's bigger than the average bank account, so I might give them 2 points or 3 points for that bank account, even though it might be one bank account, because I know a traditional bank account that would have taken me an hour is not a 400 transaction bank account. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay. And did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay. Did you have any follow-up question to that before I move on?
Um, it's kind of hard because I'm in Florida and it's very hard for me to do pricing. It's like the strangest thing in the world. So I
Right.
don't know why I find it hard to do pricing, but this at least can give me a start as to what I can put together.
Absolutely, and that's what makes this, it's really easy because yes, you've got to kind of move a little bit around with the base rate. There is a little bit, and like you say, just, practice to try to get that. But once you've got that, I mean, I don't question this price when it comes out. I don't question it anymore. I know I've got it priced right. And that does take a little bit of time to be able to do that. But as long as if you are looking at your existing clients and the work that you've done in it and you've been billing them hourly, you know what you were charging before. So you know to get more using this formula, you need to come out with a price higher than what you were charging them. So that's kind of how I say, like, play around with your existing clients and that base rate to make sure that you're coming out ahead of the game. Maybe you're only comfortable starting out with 10% higher because, you're unsure as to the area. Personally, I think you can get more, but if that's all you're comfortable doing, as long as it's more than you would have gotten and you're watching scope creep so that you're ahead of the game, you're still moving in the right direction. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, so Marie says, if we purchase a template and have more questions, can we contact you with questions? Absolutely. There is also, you can purchase a template for $99, or you can get for $199, you can get an extra hour. If it's just quick questions, I mean, absolutely. I know there's a lot of people on the call and in the Bookkeepers Corner group that have it. I can definitely answer, the odd question, but if you really want to get in and dig in one-on-one, there is the extra that you can purchase. I would say if you're not sure, then just, buy the 99 first, and then if you do want more, we can just like upgrade it at that point. But I always tell people to, I've had a few people buy it and then buy buy the full, the 200 for the hour. I'm like, watch the video first. If you don't need that hour, I'll refund it because the video gives a lot. So I want to make sure that you're getting the value out of this, which is the biggest thing. But absolutely, contact with for that. So news from Sage from Diane Mueller. I knew she'd get this out. Sage Cloud Accounting and Sage 50 integrates with auto entry. Very cool. That is very cool. So that way, anybody who's using Sage and Sage Cloud Accounting and Sage 50, you can use some type of automatic to be able to help you with that. So that's awesome. Thank you. And then Diane says, you bet. Let's just do a quick question option. Let's all do just a quick question option. So that's with referring back to her Calendly link. And Marie, awesome. Sounds good. Good news. Perfect. So I think I've covered all the questions. If anybody else has a question, type it in. And again, I'm very sorry for going over. And next time, I will do an hour and a half so that we can get into more examples. And anybody who's here first time, there are many people on here who have been frequently, because I do try to give different information and different examples every time. Unfortunately, this time I couldn't get too much into the examples from the changes, but once we expand to an hour and a half, I will be able to do that, and I am going to start getting back to trying to do one of these a month. So there's definitely lots of opportunity to go back in and learn. Absolutely. Okay. Perfect. So there's no more questions. So I think that's everybody. Thank you very much for attending. Again, the recording will go out by Friday. You will have it at the latest. If there's any questions, just feel free to reach out. And don't forget to sign up for the Financial Advisory Webinar Series. It is completely all free. You will only benefit from it. You will get all recordings, and it'll definitely help you with your services for sure. Okay. Oh, sorry, there's a few more. Thank you from Jason, Pam, and Penticton. Hi, guys. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, we met in Vancouver. So that's great. Nice to see you guys, and great improvements, Diane. Thank you very much. Okay, well, wonderful. Oh, and there's Leanna. Sorry, one last thing. My client just added QBO basic payroll on wholesale. Is DIY payroll in your sheets? Good question. Does the DIY payroll in your sheets include the payroll 20 plus the $2 employee? Yes, it does. So the sample, the payroll is $49 a month. The way that I've calculated this out is this is payroll software subscription for up to 10 employees. So I could go QBO Basic, or I could go Payment Evolution. They're probably going to average out to be about the same. But if you notice, we're charging a $199 initial setup and 1 hour training prerequisite. Now, the initial setup isn't me setting up the employees. This is, I will do the shell setup. Setting up the employees will be part of the training and up to the client to finish. If they want one with the portal, a proper portal, right now, nobody's charging extra for the portal, but there's value to that. So I'm value pricing that part of it. But if you look here, what is included, I'm not doing any ROEs. I'm not doing anything other than providing the software. So even if for up to 10 employees and $20 for the QBO Basic, that's $40 a month. That's $10 a month left over profit. So after 12 months to go towards just preparing and filing the T4 slips. Preparing and filing the T4 slips takes what, 10, 15 minutes max? So I'm very happy with my profit margin of up to, or sorry, of at a minimum of $120 to do that. So kind of that's how I calculated that out on the DIY. If they have more employees, then obviously we have to charge more. But that was kind of what I looked at. I thought, okay, I know we can do this in 15 minutes. I'm happy with $120 for 15 minutes worth of work. And again, it gives clients the options. And you know, I used to sit there and think I wanted to do all the payroll, but I have to say that payroll is getting quite to be the thorn in my side. And I'm very happy to those clients that want to take the payroll back because it's taking the stress, it's taking the deadlines off, and it's been working really, really well. So I'm quite happy with this. And again, the $199 training is going to make sure that they're trained properly. It's an hour on it, and then they can deal directly with the payroll companies for the support for anything else too. So something to think about. All right. Okay, I think that's it. So thank you very much. If anybody has any questions, feel free to email me, reach out on Facebook. And yes, next month will definitely be an hour and a half, I promise. And have a very wonderful day, everybody. Take care. Bye.